All right, all right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Reliable Representation Talk Show, the April 11th version of the show. All right, we just getting ready, trying to get prepared. I'm trying to see my camera got some stuff on. Got some. I can wipe my camera off with. You ain't got no like a little paper towel or something. I'm a little blurry, so I'm trying to be looking good for y'all. Hang on for me. Got to look good for y'all. Hang on one second, y'all. We're gonna get it squared away. All right. It's been a busy day, y'all. We're gonna be kicking it off in just a moment here, so just hang tight. Here they're gonna kick us off. So, very interesting show today. I got a special guest co-host again. Can't wait to show you who the guest co-host gonna be with me here today. But we're gonna just be talking about what is going on at your state legislature, as well as what is going on in your city, Jackson, Mississippi. What's going on in Hinds County, and most importantly, what's going on in Mississippi House District 66. So just hang on in here with us. We're gonna be kicking off real soon. Get comfortable and enjoy yourself. All right. Jackson, Mississippi, or on the web at www.wm. Here we go, y'all. Here we go. 01fm.com. All right. What y'all know about that? Come on in, get comfortable, get ready for our good show that we're going to have this evening.
90.1 WMPR. It's 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, y'all.
Every Thursday comes your way. From 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Reliable representation with your host.
Thank you so much. That's it.
You know what? It's time to go to Studio B to your host, Representative Favorite Nelson.
All right, all right. Good evening to everybody out there in Radio Land and the streaming via social media. Welcome to the Reliable Representation Talk Show. This is April 11th edition of the show. We have been going very, very strong for a while. We have a very interesting and exciting show this evening. We're going to talk about things that are going on at your state capital, things that are going on in your city, Jackson, Mississippi, things that are going on in your county, Hinds County, and most importantly, things that are going on in the best district in the state of Mississippi, none other than Mississippi House District 66. I'm going to bring on my guest co-host on. I'm going to bring on there. Say hello to everybody.
Good evening, people. How are you all? Hoping everyone is remaining safe with the change of the weather. We had cold this morning and hot this evening. So hoping everyone is remaining comfortable despite the weather that we encountered a couple of days ago.
And tell them who you are. You came on here like you Oprah Winfrey. Everybody just know who you are. So tell them your name.
I am not Oprah, but I am Brittany Bowman. Nice to be on to join Mr. Representative, Mr. Fabian Nelson on today.
All right. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to have you joining us, Mrs. Brittany Bowman. And we appreciate everything that you do out in our community and fighting for our people. So we appreciate you. Good evening to you, Ms. Darlene Wilson. So before we really get into the show, just want to, give a brief moment of silence to two people. First one is going to be Mr. Gerald Bates. He is a firefighter that was, he served the city of Jackson Fire Department as well as the city of Byram Fire Department, and he lost his life. I want to say Sunday. Wasn't it Sunday? It was Sunday. And so I want to ask that you please keep the Bates family in your prayers. It's tough. We appreciate him for serving. We appreciate everything he did, for our cities. And, our prayers go out to you. Second young man that I want to, ask that we keep in prayers is going to be Mr. Carlos Collins. He was a 25-year-old guy. He lost his life a few days ago. And we just want to ask that you keep his family in your prayers. I want his family to know that, hey, we are here for you. Anything that we can do for you during this difficult time. And we're going to get on talking about another issue a little bit later on in the show, but I just wanted to make sure that I acknowledge them and let them know, hey, their life was not in vain. Their death was not in vain. We're going to have to stop things like this from happening here in Mississippi. All right, so as you know, we have an open mic on our shows on Thursdays. If you got any questions, concerns, comments, You can give us a call here at the studio at 601-948-5950. All right, look, all feedback is welcome. We are here to have conversations. That's why it's called a Reliable Representation Talk Show. So moving on forward, where are we going to start with? So where should I start?
Ooh. Education, my favorite topic. Let's go.
All right, education. And y'all, look, I kind of freestyle everything, so I never know what we're going to talk about when we get here. So I just kind of freestyle. So most of the stuff up here. So, all right, so what you want to know about education?
Let's talk about what was on the news the other night between the Senate and the House. Let's discuss the Inspire Act, MAP. Let's talk about it.
All right, let's go. All right, so we were talking about, the Senate had their version of fully funded education, which is the MAEP updated formula. The House has their version, which is the Inspire formula. So we sent our version to the Senate, and the Senate didn't take our version up. They sent us their version. When they sent us their version, guess what the House did? We took all their language out and we put our bill back in there, sent it back to the Senate. So when the Senate got it, guess what the Senate did? Just
Veto.
threw it in the garbage can. And so the Senate, so that's it. So the Senate said, we're not going to take it up. We're not going to entertain it. And so the bill died. Well, what happened yesterday, which was on the news, so I'm going to explain to you how a bill works. So in bills, we have what are called code sections. The code sections are basically the section of the law that the bill is going to be affecting. So what the House of Representatives did, they went and found a bill. I think it was a Senate bill. Yeah, they found a Senate bill that we had on the calendar to talk about. And what they did in the Senate bill, they found one with education with a code section linking to education. And why do you think that was important, Ms. Bowman?
I think it was important for the benefit of overall fully funded education and definitely for the welfare of our educators who are definitely overworked and underpaid.
And so what they did is they found that code section. The bill was, the consolidated school districts up in the Delta.
Mhm.
So this bill was going to eliminate the consolidated school districts, the state take over and allow them to be independent districts again.
Okay.
But what happened is we actually had a House bill. It's already been passed and it's on the way. It's been passed in the House and Senate. But this was the bill that the Senate had just, in case I was in work. So really, we didn't have to do anything to it as far as passing it. But what the House did is they took all the language out of that bill and put the Inspire Act back in that bill and sent it back over to the Senate again. So it went back to the Senate. The Senate, I think, took it up today. I'm not sure what the outcome was. I know they're not going to deal with it. So the Senate, I'm thinking that they're probably going to just let it die like they did the other one. And we're going to continue to roll with the MAEP. And as everybody know, I got a little bit of heat for this, but I voted no on Inspire 2 times. Well, I voted no on it a 3rd time. And
So please share your reason and rationale for voting no on the Inspire.
Looking at the bill, it looks really good on paper. It actually was going to give JPS about $30 million more in funding.
Wow.
Hinds County School District about almost $800,000 increase in funding. So
Wow.
it looks really good on paper. But when we started analyzing it and breaking it down, saying where did the figures come from, we never got a clear understanding how these figures were calculated. Another issue I had is we've had MAEP since the early 90s, I want to say. Since its inception, it's only been fully funded 2 times. So they would not give us a guarantee that Inspire would be fully funded. So what's good is that if you go to the car lot and you buy a Cadillac and it got to sit in the garage and you can never drive it, how are you getting the benefit out of your vehicle?
You're not.
And so we needed a guarantee that Inspire will be fully funded, and we need to know where the numbers came from with Inspire. And the major kicker, the thing that did it for me, is the fact that when we started getting public charter schools here in Mississippi, so our children can leave out of public schools,
Mhm.
go to public charter and receive, and the charter school will receive the state funding.
Mhm.
So the problem I have is when this original bill for charter schools was introduced, if a child is enrolled in a charter school after a certain day, I want to say September 30th, don't quote me on it, I might be wrong, September, October-ish, but after that date, if that child comes back to public schools, the funding stays at the charter school. The public school has to take this child, and we see this happening in JPS right now.
Mhm.
JPS has to take this child back and not get any funding. And so The problem that I had with the Inspire bill is we addressed this about the old bill. And I asked them, I said, so have we addressed the issue with the funding coming back if the child, in this new bill? And they say, no, we haven't entertained that. So that would mean ultimately in Jackson, if we're getting $30 million more, because it's paid per child, you get whatever, you get not a, what's the word I'm looking for? An allocation.
Yeah, an allocated amount per child.
Per
Per
child.
body, or
Yeah, so the $30 million going to Jackson, that doesn't mean anything if you don't have the census and the head count.
Correct.
So what now? It's not like they're going to cut JPS a $30 million check. So my problem is if we have kids leaving JPS, taking a larger amount over to the charter schools and then coming back to JPS, I mean, the charter schools have gotten the money and the kids are back at Jackson Public Schools and our schools are still suffering. Mm-hmm. So with the Senate version, the MAEP, the Senate changed it, where if they come back to public schools from charter, that money has to follow them. So was what the argument was is that, well, when we send the money out, we can't go and pull it back from the charter school. Well, the Senate said, okay, we can't pull it back. That charter school is going to have to cut a check to the school district when they come back, a prorated amount for the months that they're going to be at the public schools. And if they don't do it within 30 days, they're going to get a 5 or 10% penalty. And so that's the way that it should be. The money should follow the child. So those were the issues I had with the Inspire bill. And until I see some changes in regard, around that, I'm going to feel the same way about it. But now the Senate has, and I have not looked at this legislation yet. I just have notes on it. But today the Senate took one of our bills. Like I told you, we took language out of theirs. They took one of our bills, House Bill 1823. And what this is an appropriations bill. And what they did is they're going to increase education budget by $206 million in this 1823 bill. So they're going to give an increase of 206 plus House Bill number 765. That is, have you heard of that bill that gives teachers an incentive, like dealing with the teacher shortages? Mm-hmm. Well, the Senate amended this bill today, and they're going to give a $1,000 pay raise to every single teacher, not just in the critical need areas.
This is across the board.
That's across the board, all teachers. Now, these are the notes I have. I have not read these bills. I just got it on the way here, so I maybe come back saying, "Oh, that's not really what it was." So preliminarily, that's what I was told. I'm going to look into it a little bit more. But with those things, I think those are steps in the right direction. 206 million more in funding for education is taking us in the right direction. And don't get me wrong, MAEP is not a perfect formula. The Inspire formula they're talking about is not a perfect formula. We're never going to have a perfect formula, but we got to start moving the needle somewhere to make things a little bit better. And so that's what we have going on in your education world.
So you have a lot of updates to still bring back to the people in regards to that, because I would like to know the next steps.
Yeah, the next steps. So what will happen next is Bill will come over to us and we will look at it. And so we were talking a little bit, I think, last week about bills going to conference and concurring and not occurring, whatever have you. So what happened is this bill is going to come back to us. And when it comes back to us, we can look at it and we can say we're going to vote yes on it, send it to the governor. We can say no on it, let it die. We can say that we want to make changes to it, and make changes to it. And so we make changes if we call what's called concurrence. So we concur, that means we take it as it is, and we're going to send it to the governor. If we say we do not concur, it's going to go to conference. So we can say not concur, go to conference. If it goes to conference, it basically 6 people sit down, 3 from the House, 3 from the Senate, sit down, try to iron all the details out and try to get something that's, agreeable upon both chambers, and they'll bring it back to us, and a majority we can vote on, and the majority we can get it passed. But whatever happens, even if the MAEP doesn't work, if the Inspire doesn't work, we're still going to fund education. So, it's not going to be, I don't want people to go, we're not going to get it funded. We may not get what we want as far as MAEP, and others may not get what they want with the Inspire, but our children will be getting funding. And we're going to continue to work on this, because my whole thing is this education fight has been going on for too long. I can't fight this year for it, pass something. Next year, we got to fight again. The year after that, we got to fight again. It should be maintenance to it.
Mhm.
So each year we should say, you know what, we have a deficit of $10 million here. Let's figure out how to fix that. But it shouldn't be us saying, well, we're not going to fully fund education and we're going to cut the budget. So we have to get to a point where we have a system that's working. And when MAEP came around in the 90s, they said, this is the gold standard. This is great. And so since MAEP was the gold standard then, it's saying Inspire is the gold standard now. So what's going to happen in 4 years or 5 years? Well, we got to work on it. I guess they're going to have a Minspire then. They'll change it to something else. So, but that's ultimately what we have going on. So we are, and hello to you, Sean Pope. Thank you so much for tuning in. And so that's what we have going on in the education world.
Okay.
And once again, the open mic tonight, you want to call in the 601-948-5950. Any questions you have, concerns you have, or anything you just want to get off your chest, feel free to call us and let us know about it. And so I have some homework from last week.
All right, let's hear about
So
it.
one of the gentlemen asked me about the settlement that the city of Jackson got for the water with the Siemens contract. So I did a little research on it because I told him, I said, I'm going to research and find out what I can. So I went, I talked to, I think it was WLBT. And what they said, the settlement amount was $90 million. Out of that $90 million, $30 million were in attorney fees. So that means we have a $60 million net after we paid the attorneys. Out of that, $45 million was written off due to the bad equipment and the bad pipes and stuff we had. So that left $15 million. So out of the $15 million, $7 million went to 7.1 million went to water and sewer, and the other 7.6 went to sanitation. So that's where the money went, the $90 million. And this is a lawsuit initially. They were saying the city was owed, I want to say like $345 million. And so the city just, went down and took a smaller settlement just to, be over and done with it. So with the Siemens money, to answer the gentleman's question, if he's listening, that's ultimately where it went. What are your thoughts on that?
So that's very interesting to hear how the money has been, I would say, allocated for the city, then misappropriated. Well, I don't want to use the word misappropriated. Has been dispersed to the different, I would say, fees that were associated with this. However, I just want to know, once the city received the money, then what were the next steps? Where did it go from there? So, for instance, I think you said like $7 million.
$7 for
So
to the
we
water
have
sewer
$7
system.
million went into the water and sewer. Okay, so where is that money? Like, can you give me a grocery list, itemized, how is this money spent? And it would be good if someone from the city could call in and tell us, how it was, because a lot of times we have preconceived, they mishandled the money, misappropriated the money. But if you have it in black and white, and can tell us where the money went, I think that people would appreciate that a whole lot more than just knowing we received the money and no one can account for it. We're still having issues with our water.
That's a great idea. So I'm going to do some more homework and see if I can get somebody that knows a little bit more about it. Because like I say, only thing we have to look at is what, the research tells us.
Correct.
But we don't know, where it went. And it could be justifiably could have gone to the right place. It's something that we don't know. Like when we talk about, we're talking about Medicaid expansion for the longest in Mississippi. Well, the other side is saying we don't want to, they were saying we don't want to expand Medicaid in the past, but they can never give us a reason. So the thing is, if you could have given us a reason as to why you were against expansion, and it was a valid reason, we might say, well, we don't need it. And so I think that that's a great idea, to a great approach to take.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so I got my homework done, right?
You did.
And we had a check. I'm gonna check it off. And so we talked about dyslexia just a little bit. Last week we had a caller. Actually, we had two callers that called in talking about dyslexia. And I told them that we had, and I actually reached back out to them when I got home that night. But I talked about resources we were putting in place. So we have a bill that's going to put, specialists like therapists that specialize in dyslexia in the school districts to make sure that the kids are getting their needs met. It's going to also have another bill that's going to have a scholarship for dyslexia students where they can go to a school that specializes in dyslexia. It was one I was telling you about last week. I couldn't remember the name of it, but it's called the 3D School. It's down in, I want to say, Petal, Hattiesburg area. and they specialize in students that have dyslexia.
Wow, that's something I would like to research.
Yeah, and dyslexia, that's something it's very serious. People don't realize how serious it is, and it's frustrating because when you have a person with dyslexia, they might like I'm reading now Representative Fabian A. Nelson. They'll see it as Nelson A. Fabian representative. And so they get frustrated because they don't understand, what's wrong with me, because they don't have anybody to teach them and to teach them how to cope with it and how to deal with it. But if they get the resources they need, they're very smart.
Mhm.
Children with dyslexia are very, very intelligent, but they have to just learn how to be able to process information. And so I think that that's a step in the right direction. Another thing, back on Inspire Bill. So there was one thing I did like about Inspire is that it gives more money for students with like special needs. So dyslexia possibly could be covered in that. Students that are in low income areas. So I like that about it. But the problem that I had is it just, like I told you, it gives the money per child. And so it's not saying that we have to put this special program in place at the school. So we look at a school and we say, okay, we're giving you $30 million more because, you have children that fall into this category. We're not telling that school how they need to allocate those resources. We need to be saying, because you have children that have these needs, we're going to fund a program at your school for these kids. We're going to give the teachers that are helping these kids more money. It needs to be a direct appropriation, not just putting it out there, because that's what happens right now too often. We put money out there and we don't follow it, and we just think that people are going to do what they're supposed to do with it, and they don't. And I'm not, saying that anybody did anything wrong or anybody would spend it in the wrong way. But it's just, if you're not giving them guidelines as to how they use it, they're going to use it where it's needed. Right now we have a lot of crippling infrastructure within our Jackson Public Schools. With the funding, they're going to say, well, hey, we need to fix our schools. So I feel more comfortable with the money being, like I say, allocated directly towards that. Okay, Miss Mary Bradley, thank you for tuning in. She says, I'm a retired special needs teacher. Most of my students had dyslexia. A lot of celebrities have dyslexia. Danny Glover and Whoopi Goldberg, to name two. Walt Disney as well.
Wow, I did not know about those.
I did not know about those. And see, that's why it's so important that we have people that understand dyslexia, because they can tell the students that, like this, they can say, look, it's nothing wrong with you, and they can make it more relatable. Because now, if they're not getting the services they need, it's not benefiting them. They'll have bad grades, and because they can't comprehend, and it's really setting them up for failure. Another bill I want to talk about is the subject area testing bill.
Woo-hoo.
And so we have been fighting subject area testing for the longest here in Mississippi. And for those of you that aren't familiar with it, there's a U.S. history,
English 2, biology, and
algebra, and U.S. history. So these 5 tests. Now your child or my child can go to school for 13 years, be a straight A student. When they take these tests, if they do not pass all of these tests, they do not graduate. No matter how high their GPA is, they do not graduate. And I have a big problem with that. I understand that we need to have diagnostic testing. We need to have testing, accountability testing, to see how the district is doing. I'm okay with them giving a test for that reason. But as far as giving that child that test to say, hey, if you can pass this test, that you've mastered school, I'm not for that. This is not even graduate from college. When I got my bachelor's, I didn't have to pass a test. I did the coursework. Now, when you go into professional fields, you have to pass tests. When you get some master programs where require you to pass a test, or PhD programs, dissertation, and things like that. But this is high school. And so my problem with that, furthermore, is when we have a child that cannot get their high school diploma because of these tests, they have to they tell them, okay, you can't come back to school. You can go get your GED. A GED is much more difficult than a high school diploma to get. If they can't pass the subject area test, they're going to have a hard time, getting a GED. So what we have happening is we have kids that cannot get a diploma. You can't get a diploma, guess what? You can't get a job. You can't go to trade school. It's nothing you can do. So we have a child that spent 13 years in school that can do absolutely nothing after school. And then we talk about, a crime problem. We talk about, people don't want to get jobs. People don't want to work. We're failing our students when we're making them pass these tests and not letting them graduate. Now, if a child not doing their work, and then I'm not saying push them along if they're not doing their assignments and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is if they meet those requirements, we should let them graduate. So we actually have a bill that passed the Senate and the House to eliminate the testing. And what it's going to do is it's going to use the ACT as, just as the test, because federal requirement is that, it has to be a test in place. So the ACT would be able to be utilized. Now it passed in the House, but we put what's called a reverse repealer in it. And what a reverse repealer does is it basically repeals the bill after a certain date. So the reason we do this is so it can go to conference, because when it goes to conference, they're going to sit down and talk about what we want it to look like. So with the ACT, well, they have to score a certain thing on the ACT, that's going to allow the bill to stay alive. And so I'm excited about that. I hope that we can get that out because we owe it to our students. And if we're going to leave those subject area tests in place, we need to figure out an alternative diploma that would allow a child to go to trade school or do something. But I'm not okay with children not being able to get their high school diploma. And, I've seen it happen so many times. The students, they work hard, and that's crushing. You crush a person because kids are looking forward to graduation. Families are looking forward to graduation. All these years, think about it, the senior prom, the band, the dances, all the things that they did, the classmates going off to college, and this child can't graduate because they didn't pass the test.
It's very sad and disheartening.
It is. So, we're pushing that, championing that. If it doesn't work out this year, we're going to keep on pushing and championing for it to happen next year. And here's the kicker. Those tests aren't required in private schools. Yeah. So the private schools are not required the state test. So I'm gonna let that marinate on everybody for a minute. So if the private schools aren't requiring it, why are we making our public schools students take these tests? I'm okay with it for accountability reasons. If we are, I think that's a good gauge, because if we're taking the test, the students are taking the test and they're scoring low on them, and the school has a lower grade, then we can intervene and go in and say we need to figure out, what's going on in the school district, because it's not the students, it's the school, and the school is failing the child. It's not the students. So we need to figure out, what do we need to do. We have a lot of students that we have talk about a lower rated school district. So we need to figure that out. And this is Miss Mary Bradley says some colleges are not requiring ACT. They are also limited in some states their GPA for coursework. So I think that is absolutely great. All right, we're going to come back to it. We have a caller. Hold on, let's see. Hey, they're calling you on the air.
Yes, sir. I just want to comment on what you're talking about, the testing. And I agree a lot. I think, me personally, just me.
Yes, sir.
Why would all these old heads that are still sitting up here making all these laws going to throw all this on these kids now? Neither one of them took a test, get out of school. And you sitting up there in these big offices and all that stuff. And number two, so you telling me now that all the teachers are incompetent of teaching everything, so we got to test them to test the kids to make sure that they're able to pass. They need to stop all that garbage, man, and go back to the old school way of doing things, and those kids gonna be fine. Now, granted, there gonna be some kids that just don't get it.
Yes, sir.
And we understand that.
Yes, sir.
Understand that. But all this additional mess that they throwing around and all this new age stuff that, people like me that's getting ready to kick 60 plus in the tail, we don't understand a lot of that old stuff, and I know good well that they don't understand. But if you put the basics down, we'll get that. And that's what these kids need. Now, they don't need all this other stuff blown out of proportion, because you know as well as I know, when it comes down to bare bone facts, when you look that employee in the eye, all that PhDs and HDDs and all that stuff ain't going to be worth a hill of beans.
It sure isn't. All right. Look, I appreciate that call. And so I remember my mama all the time, because I was coming through at the time when we were introducing technology and all that into the curriculum. And I remember I was so interested in all the computers and technology. And my mama told me, she said, you need the 3 R's. I said, the 3 R's, what is it? Read, write, and arithmetic. So I always remember read, write, arithmetic. That can take you anywhere you need to go. But he made a very good point. In that chamber right now, there are probably in the House of Representatives and in the House, in the whole Capitol, House of Representatives and the Senate, there are probably 3 members that have had to take these subject tests, that are at the age where they had to take these tests. Because I'm thinking when I came out of high school, that was when they were first starting to implement them, and I only had to pass the Algebra 1 test. So the class after me had to pass Algebra 1 and something else, and they tiered it down like this. So I was one of the first. But in that chamber, there are not many people, like the gentleman said, that have had to take those tests.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna tell you, my colleagues think that they are the smartest things around town. And so they made it without passing those tests. And we need to tell our children, y'all don't have to pass the test. And we talk about right now, our children, we talk about how stressed out our children are. I'm thinking about when I was in school, I wasn't stressed. I was being a kid. Things like this are what's stressing our kids out.
I think it's not only the testing too, I think it's the level of I would say teaching, the way that they're teaching students now. In a sense, it's as if they're teaching just to test. I also look at the actual structure of homework now. Mostly everything that is done is computer. When I came through school, you brought a textbook home, you had to have some notebook paper, a calculator that I wasn't using, but my son, however, was using a calculator in the 7th grade. Didn't even have that privilege to utilize one. It was available, but my teachers were so old school that it was simply put 9 plus 7, put 9 lines, put 7, add that together, tell me what it is, not put it in the calculator to calculate thing for you. And I think that's what also is handicapping our children is they don't have the aptitude to think for themselves, but there are so many other, I would say, interferences that are causing them not to be able to develop as they would, because again, as you said, your mom alluded to it as a caller did, you just use those basic skills, because once you graduate high school, we'll be honest, in your professional careers, you're not using y equals mx plus b. You're not dissecting any frogs. So how are all these things beneficial? In English, you need a subject and a verb to agree. You need to know what a pronoun is, an adverb, and an adjective.
That's absolutely correct. And like you say, y equals m plus b. If you're going to be using it in your professional career, guess what? You're going to have to go to college, an engineering degree, and that's when you will really, hammer down on it. All right, we got calls. All right, the phone is lit up now. Okay, all right. Hey, caller, you on the air?
Hi, my question is, are those tests required for the private schools?
No, ma'am. The private schools are not required to take any of these subject area tests that I just spoke about. It's only public schools. And let me check. Charter schools have to take them, don't they?
So,
Okay, so some charter schools have to take them.
I can speak for Jackson.
Okay,
I'm not certain for other areas.
Okay, so we're going to say that
Hines County, but we can do the research and find out.
We'll do the research, but I know that private schools are exempt from those tests. Those are only for our state schools.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you so much for calling. All right, we got another caller. Hang on. All right, caller, you on the air?
Hey, good afternoon. Thank y'all for taking my call.
No problem. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, sir. Look, I just want to say y'all got a good dialogue, but the real truth why our kids are failing is going to be 2 reasons. Now, I respect a lot of teachers and stuff like that, but what we're going to have to do is what's handicapping our kids is y'all ability to control the classroom and teach. You're not going to be able to do it in this public system because they got too many things that's hurting our kids, either dealing with homosexuality or like the lady was talking about as far as reading from a calculator instead of doing it the old school way. In order for us to bring our kids back, because they're smart, ain't nobody smarter than our kids because of the other things they have to deal with. But we got to have our own schools where we can have total control, we can decide what we want to teach. And then it'll be more effective as far as us lining our kids up with the Most High and get back to some of the biblical principles. But as far as raising them in these schools that are funded by the public government, by the government, it's not going to work. because we don't have any power over our kids. So, I mean, in order for us to win, we're going to have to get back, we're going to have to get our own schools and just pull our money and buy schools where we can just set their own curriculum for our kids. That's the only way we got.
Yes, sir. I agree with you. That is a great that is a great way to look at it. And so yeah, we really have to get back to that. And yes, sir.
And I'll be honest with you. You look at the whole Metro of Jackson. There's 650,000 people. Let them tell it in the Metro. Let me tell you how we make a power move. If we just had 25,000 people around the city, if you put up $10,000 for the next 2 or 3 years, or if you put up an investment of $10,000 and every month put up $1,000 for 2 years, man, we'll have millions of dollars. We can build our own schools. And we can build a block that can be so big. We can have our high school students, junior high school students, and middle school and primary students. We can have it in about 4 or 5 blocks, and we can all be able to monitor our kids from kindergarten all the way to the 12th grade. The people who are serious, and we ain't gonna have to worry about no interference because we spending our money and we can control it. But that's the only way, brother. We're getting money from the state of Mississippi or getting grants to fund our schools. These devils ain't gonna do nothing but implement crazy stuff to keep our kids off track and where we can't oversee them. The problem is controlling our kids, and we'll win. And look here.
Yes, sir.
And that'll facilitate that. Look here, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. You want one of them brilliant kids? I don't care if you want to play basketball. It's gonna cost you $1 million or 1.5 a semester or a year just for them to come.
Yes, sir. All right. Look, I like that.
And that's how we solve that.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate you calling. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for calling in.
Yes, sir.
All right. So there we go. We got some great ideas with with education, and he made a good point. Sometimes teachers do have problems with controlling the classroom, but what I want to add to that is too, we have a lot of parents that don't hold their children accountable.
That's true.
So-
It's a twofold.
So we have to, with our parents, we have to start getting that partnership back with the teacher and the parent. Because I'm gonna tell you, if I was doing something, then the teacher told me to stop doing it. If not, they're gonna call my mom or daddy. I got it to get right. Some of these kids now, you tell them, well, go on, call them. I don't care. And then the parent will come up there and go off on the teacher. Why are you doing this? Send it to my child. So we have to really make sure that we have those partnerships.
I think that goes back to building bridges. When you start building bridges with your community, your school, your church, families, then that actually is the glue to when the student goes to school, because at some level you have a level of respect and fear. You respect authority, but you fear the retaliation in such a manner of, oh, if I act out, then they're going to reprimand me for my actions. So when we don't start, instilling those values into our children about how you are to carry yourself, how are you to act as a student, then that causes that classroom dysfunction for that educator. She can't keep functioning, because how are you able to function in a classroom with 20 students and you keep saying, stop, sit down, don't do that, don't do that. And then, as you alluded to, you have a child saying, call my mom. At what point, and you're only in that class 45 minutes to 60 minutes, there's no way instruction time is able to be given because you're using so much of the time focused on correcting behavior.
And then while you're on the phone with the parent, the other kids are off track and they're not learning, not doing what they're supposed to do. And I'm gonna tell you, one thing that I hate, absolute hate, is that our kids do not get textbooks anymore.
This laptop, I am totally against it. I know we're in a tech savvy world, things are changing. But and I have to go back to my mom. I always say, if you don't keep the old school way, that's your role model, that's your map. It's how you navigate through life. Still have some formality where you're teaching out of a textbook. They may can go home and do the homework, or they may do it, utilize the computer for classroom. But I need you to see in black and white how you do this. Yeah,
I want to send a shout out to my son Octavia's teacher, Mrs. Leisha Burns, over at Byron Middle School. She's a native of Yazoo as well, but she's old school. So the kids have laptops with their notes on there, but she make them write all their notes down too.
Look.
And she said, I do that because I don't want them to say, well, my internet wasn't working at home. I didn't charge my computer. She said, I'm teaching them how to do it the old school way, because you never know when you can't rely on a computer.
And she's right.
And I mean, computers are meant, technology is meant to help us. It's to be a tool. you still need to know how to do the stuff. Like you were talking about, your teachers wouldn't let y'all use calculators. Your teacher won't let you use a calculator because your teacher wants you to know how to work it out by hand so you can understand. So calculators, when you're an adult and you're in your career, whatever, you know the principles, you can use a calculator then. But that's what's handicapping, our kids, is by all, technology. I'm gonna tell you this AI, oh my God, the artificial intelligence.
Taking it to another level.
Oh, they have it now. I can write my math problems down on a piece of paper, take a picture with it, put it in an app, and it'll solve those problems. And it'll work it out and show me how to solve them. How is that going to help our kids? It's writing papers for kids. It is, that whole thing to me is just insane.
And not only is it handicapping, it's crippling them because these students, some anyway, aspire to attend college. And you won't be able to be successful in college depending on AI.
You will not.
You're going to have to be able to write a paper, and perfect it, as best as you can with the knowledge that you have, not with someone else doing it for you. Because if you think about it in the critical realm of it, what do you know? What knowledge have you gained?
That's it.
So how are you able to, write a paper on something that someone else has done for you? Because you have no experience, you have no value.
I remember I was at a restaurant. I'm not gonna tell you which one, where it was, the name of it, anything, but I was at a restaurant and I went up and I ordered my food. It was like a special, how you can do the $5 and you get the $5 plan or $4 meal plan. And so it was $5. And so I went around to pay for my food, and she said, "Oh, we can't take your money because the computer down, the cash register down." I had cash. She had a credit card machine, bro. I had cash, but she didn't know how to calculate the sales tax on that. I said, "Get your manager." So the manager came. The manager didn't know either. So I had to calculate. I said, "Here you go." I said, "Just keep the change." But that's why it's important to know how to do basic things, because sometimes technology fails us. All right. Caller, you on the air?
Good evening.
Hey, how you doing?
All right, you can hear me?
Yes, sir. He just fine.
Yes, I was just listening to your program and everything, and I just want to say one thing. I was just listening to the young lady, like she said, when you get to the colleges, you're gonna have to write your own paper, but like you said, by using this computer and all this technology, right? First thing they're gonna holler, you still on paper this.
That's it.
That's correct.
And then, but then going back to what you're saying, like when I was in school, when we was coming up, like you said, before the computer, you remember when they had to do Fortran and all that? We had to write our own program.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We surely did.
And another thing, what I wanted to say this, then I'm gonna go. What truly hurts is not all our children, like she said. We learn these things at home because the old school, it really helps you a whole lot to prepare you for what they got today. If it's just our young children just to listen, most of our young people, some of them is trying to, but some of our young men and young women right now today, they don't want to listen to no one or anything. In other words, they got away from their home, not only their home training, because when we was coming up, everything that was taught at home, they're according like their words, you started in the house. When you do that, take care of home, everything will go out, as your child will go out, and it will make a difference.
You're
But
out.
you gotta have that parent willing to work with their child no matter what. Because when we was coming up, and I'll say that, I'm gonna go. When we was coming up, there was always someone at home for us. Whether in the morning or in the evening. But now there's no one for their child when they're coming home or when they're leaving home. Children trying to raise children, they wonder why we have so many problems. I just want to say that y'all continue to have a good evening.
Thank you so much for your feedback. And thank you for listening to us. And thank you for calling.
All right.
And you know what? Those are very, very good points that he made. I'm going to tell you, my grandmother had a 6th grade education. And she taught me things to this day that have really helped me navigate through life. She taught me, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, no, sir,
Memories.
yes, sir, thank you, no, thank you, please. So she was big on that, because if you have a good personality, you treat people right and you're respectful, it's going to take you so far in life. It's the basic stuff. Books can't teach you.
And I always go to this simple principle. My mom always said, if you don't know, but you have the love of God in your heart, He's going to send the right people in your life to help you navigate those things in which you do not know, but you have to, as he alluded to, you
Elder
have to
Brother
be-
Brown.
have to be willing to listen and understand. And as you stated, a lot of things a book can't teach you.
You can,
It's foundational skills that you learn called life skills from your families, and it comes from your upbringing.
you know, some people, I know you hear the house just have so much book sense up here.
No comment.
And no common sense. And so you got to have a balance. I mean, you have to have both. And so a book can teach you some things. And so, yeah, Ms. Mary Bradley said parents and teachers are the biggest stakeholders of our
Very
students.
true, very true.
That is so true. And I have good relationships with all of my son's teachers.
And that's great.
And I tell them, look, whatever they're doing, if they look at you the wrong way, you pick up the phone and you call me.
Old school.
Old school. But you know, my boys know that. And so they know if they get out of line and the teacher corrects them, they're going to stop
Mhm.
because they know that it's not going to be anything pretty. If the
And they know
teachers
that
are
it's
coming.
unacceptable.
Yeah, that's unacceptable. I tell my kids, I say, look, I'm at work. I can't leave work to come up to the school because you're misbehaving.
Mhm.
And so they know that my phone don't need to ring. I said, if your teacher calling me, your teacher be calling me to say, oh, your son is doing a great job in my class.
Mhm.
That is the only reason my phone should ring.
Mhm.
And so, you know, with other parents, you know, they need to realize that if they talk to their kids and tell their kids that and make sure their kids are doing the right thing, their phone won't be ringing. They won't have to come to school, you know, so.
And it's a profound statement. It takes a village to raise a child. That is true. You have to be willing and open. And I think that's the thing. It's a culture problem. I know for African Americans, we struggle with correction. We struggle with constructive criticism. We struggle with other people holding us accountable. And I don't think that should be an issue because if someone sees your best interest or see your full potential, you should not be offended by them correcting your child saying, no, baby, don't do that. You know, that's not the way you should answer an adult. Or no, Representative Nelson, you offended me by what you stated. I shouldn't take offense to that. I should use it as a growing opportunity. And that's how you build bridges and open up other doors for yourself as not only as a child, but as an adult because you're flourished in life.
That is it. I mean, that is it. Okay, we got another caller coming through. Look on that hand to get it over to us. All right, but line is busy.
You got the hotline too.
Got two callers coming
2
up.
Thursdays in a row that I've attended.
I know you got to come on back and bring the callers in because we want people to engage. Anybody want to call in the number here at the station 601-948-5950. Feel free to call us. And here's our next caller. Hey, caller, you on the air?
Yeah, so how y'all doing today?
Doing great. How you doing?
Fine, thank you. Look, I'm listening to y'all to talk about our kids and the books and also the laptops. You know, there's a way they would get our kids' mind off, and they put them laptops in there in the classroom beside the book. But they get on them laptops, and half of them, the teacher can't monitor them, and half of them look at what they want to look at on their laptop.
Amen.
And that's why half of our kids is behind in reading because they ain't using the books.
Very true.
Believe that or not.
That is so true. That is you hit the nail right on the head.
Because see, I'm like Mr. Ever. We always blame the white folks. It ain't the white folks up. But we look and see what they doing, so we ought to make a change.
That's it. You are absolutely right about that.
We ain't got to keep talking about them. Let's talk about us. What the hell we gonna do?
Yes, sir. You know, we have to look in the mirror sometimes and have to say, hey, what are we doing wrong? Where can we improve?
Right.
We have to save ourselves. You can't wait on somebody else to save
But
you.
we got that big thing about white people. White people ain't doing nothing else. We doing it to ourselves.
Yes, sir.
So true.
You are absolutely
Because
right.
if we think and get our heads together, because we're the brilliant people on earth, there was nothing made without a black man. Nothing.
You better preach it then.
Yes, you know, the truth is the truth.
It is.
We have to start looking at ourselves and figuring out what it is we need to do. You know,
Right.
what's the saying?
Just
That
like I heard excuse me for cutting you off. Just like I heard the gentleman say, we put all our money together and get us a big land and build our own school and put our children in there. And that's what they do. You go to a private school, they got books. They use computers sometimes, but they got books in them children, right?
They sure
The children
do.
don't even bring a book home.
They
Sure don't.
they do not. And you're absolutely right about that.
And that's sad. That's sad. And we, as mother, father, grandfather, we educated black people.
We are.
Yes.
We need to do something about it. Well, we can't do nothing about it when we got all our blacks up there in the big house. And they gave him $2 or $3 at Chicken Mountain Club. You don't never get nowhere.
Yes, sir.
Y'all have a blessed night. I don't want to talk about nobody. I ain't got room. I want to let you hit my mouth for talking about people.
Thank you so much, caller. We appreciate you. Thank you for listening.
Wait a minute. Is the woman in the studio?
Is who here?
Is this woman ever in the studio?
She is not here today. I didn't see her when we got here.
Okay, because I promised her I was going to bring her let her see that newspaper with her uncle in it that got killed. I got that whole newspaper.
You know what? She'll be here probably tomorrow, probably about 10, 11 o'clock.
Well, I done retired from the city when they started selling. The mayor ran me up.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, my goodness.
I wouldn't do it another day. Man, let me go talk about this. Y'all have a blessed night. God bless.
Thank you for calling. You have a good one. I'm going to tell you, that's one thing about our reliable representation callers. They're going to tell it how it is. They ain't going to sugarcoat it. But you know, what he made a very good point about computers. And I'm going to tell you the same thing. You know, all of my boys have laptops, school laptops. And what they say is, you know what, we have a block where they can't go on the sites. They're going to go on school-related material. My kids have found out a way they can go on this site and they can go look at anything they want to on those computers. Kids are always going to find a workaround.
Oh, definitely.
And so because I literally reached out to the school and said, hey, can my kids get paper assignments? I don't want them having a lab. Well, no, we don't have it. And it'll be too much on the teacher to have to grade. And then the computer side said, well, we need to do something because that's hurting our children. Oh, Miss April Harper said, and reading doesn't even take place in the class anymore.
Wow. Now, I know that was a big one for me because that was something, and I know this even with my son, with reading aloud. Teachers used to make you read aloud in the English class. They'll call your name. I need you to come to we're on paragraph 4. I need you to read. And then you're gonna ask the question and answer the question in the textbook. And that is a true profound statement. And it goes back to, again, just like he mentioned about, we follow other races for our issues. It goes back to leaders and representation. You have to put the right people in place to help you lead. Well, to help lead the people. You can't lead somebody when you don't know where you're going. And if you don't have the experience, expertise, you're definitely, the children are going to fail. I mean, it's a given.
That's absolutely, what's going to happen. They don't read. Yeah, I remember, okay, yeah, Ms. Harper said, yep, everyone was called on. And that was it. The teacher go around and you could tell like your classmate that, really couldn't read well because they'll be nervous and be thinking the teacher going to skip and the teacher.
And if you laugh, you going to come up to the class now.
That's it. That's it. But that wasn't to embarrass students. That was to enhance their skills, to make them better.
Because you need to know how to orally communicate and you definitely need to know how to read. Reading is a major component of life.
And I'm going to tell you, knowing that you got to read out loud. And remember, our teachers make us go to the board and work problems out. Ooh. And so when we know that, I'm going to study the night before because I said, she's going to call me and I want them laughing at me. Mm-hmm. That makes them accountable. Mm-hmm. Because if they're not reading out loud, how does the teacher know that they can read? And the child may not be able to read well. And like this 3rd grade test that they're giving now, that's another one. The child may not know how to read and they're taking the test and they failing the test because they can't read, but the teacher don't know because the teacher hadn't observe them reading. So I understand that, evolution, things change, times change, but some stuff you got to stay with the basics. When it's working, you got to stay with it. And when we should see that what we're doing right now, it is not working.
It is not.
It is not working. Like, it is it's completely different. Like I see with my kids, the stuff that they do at school, they come on talking about, I'm like, that school was nothing like that. When I was there, I would tell you, I'm so old school. We used to go to school when it stormed outside to get in the hallway and hold our head. We didn't have the inclement weather. That was it. All right, we got a caller. Hey, caller, you on the air?
Yes, sir. I called earlier.
Yes, sir.
I really enjoy this topic, but a lot of problems that and like I said again, it's just me that I see. And I wouldn't say it's pressure that, speaking of me back in the day, but it was the thought of my parents and my parents' parents wanted to see us better than what they were. coming up. You know, my parents grew up at the end of, you know, grandparents and stuff, the Depression years and stuff like that. And for a black human being, it was tough just to be black, and even tougher because you had to outshine the white individual. And it's sad to have to be like that. But you know, we got to push our kids, you know, to be the best. And that's what they were doing back then. Now you don't really see that. You know, it wasn't all about, well, to be the best, you had to be the best football player, basketball player. Back then, it was like, if you didn't get them 3 R's like we talked about earlier,
That's it.
and you can show that Jimmy, Johnny, and Billy that you just as smart and can do it just as better as they can, you're never going to get nowhere. And we don't push our kids in that sense to like they used to be, like how I was raised. And I don't know what you guys' age group are, but that's the way we were raised. It was there. It was shown in black and white that there was no black president. It was shown in black and white that there was no black governor, no black mayors, no black this or that, the other thing. When you saw a black principal or a black teacher, you were struck. You know, I was awestruck. You know, so stuff like that is what's missing, I think, in a lot of, not all, but in a lot of cases of our kids right now. You know, if we don't tell them what your grandparents and what your great grandparents went through and how they got there and how they didn't get there, so forth, so on. If it's not in the book, we'll never know. And those kids will never have that drive or determination to be like, hey, I want to make it better. I want to make a change. I want to see this and I want to see that. I want to be the first black astronaut or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're not getting. And then back as far as those private schools, I hate to say it, I know we got some black kids that go there, but they ran by them white folks. So they ain't gonna test it. You know, they ain't got to test. Why they need to test? You know, they're paying us this money. So, hey, they graduated. They don't get on. I'm out again.
Absolutely. All right, caller. Thank you so much for that. And he made some really good points in everything that he just said. I remember, you know, growing up, I would always, you know, I always tell my parents, you know, I want to be just like you when I grow up. And my parents would say, no, we want you to be better than us because we've struggled and we're making it the path easier for you. So you don't have to endure the things we endured. And so you got to be better than us. I tell my kids the same thing. I said, no, y'all have to be.
Janice, we see you.
Oh, hey, Miss Janice. So I tell my kids the same thing. No, I want you to be better than me because I'm laying the foundation for you. And so I'm lifting you up. So that's what we gotta, you know, teach them. And I remember my dad, every time I get my report card, my grades were never good enough. If it was a B, why didn't it an A? If it was an A, if it was a 90, well, it should have been a 95. And I used to get so mad. I was like, why can't he just say? But he was doing that because he wanted me to push and want better. If he
know that he knew your potential, he knew what you were capable of doing.
I had paid to say, okay, B's, and say, oh, that's fine, good job. I'm going to push. But I knew I got to get this grader because daddy going to be saying I need a higher grade. Hey, caller, you on the air?
How are you doing, Mr. Nelson and Ms. Bowman?
Grading yourself.
I'm enjoying your show tonight. Very important topic.
Thank you.
And as a parent educator, I wanted to just mention the importance of mental math. I have taught my kids, and when I was teaching my students, as well as my granddaughter now, to use mental math. You know, when you go out in the public, and I've experienced this, where when you go to buy something, sometimes the cashier or the person who's charging you, you know, for the item, they're not sure what change you owe back. If there's not a computer, you know, a cashier, you know, nearby a cash register.
Yes,
And
sir.
it's very important to know when you give them money, you should already know in your mind, work it out in your mind what they owe you. And that's very important. And so that's a good thing we can have our kids to learn to do more of, is to do that mental math. You know, figure out in your head what the calculation is, what they owe you before they even give it to you.
Yes.
As well as there's research that shows that so much use of the laptop, screen time, it kills brain cells.
It sure
And
does.
I'm definitely a believer of that. And we should research it more and really believe that and read about that, because of all that use of the internet, you know, the laptop, that first time and all that, it's killing our kids' brain cells.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
granddaughter, she is in a private school, and like you said, they use books. They hardly ever use
Reduced
the
that 2
computer.
years.
They do work in the book, as groups, as individuals,
You heard them
and
right.
that's business for it. They bring books home. And that's needs to be done again in our public schools. I just want to just mention that tonight. I'm really enjoying the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for tuning in.
All right, thank you, Mr. Neal.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so we got Representative Brown here in the studio. Representative Brown, tell us a little bit about this. Just gave me a piece of paper with
Well,
some.
just the fact that I've introduced vocational education in the public school system for the last 2 or 3 terms, and it has not even come up for discussion. Matter of fact, you probably didn't even know it was in the system.
I did not. So yeah, Representative Brown has introduced vocational and home economics. I remember home economics
My parents.
required for all middle, high, and alternative school students. And this right here, that teaches life skills. I mean,
And then
it's-
civics is on there as well.
okay, civics. Okay,
Civic
right here,
education.
require civics. Yeah, board education and civics is so important.
And I've been getting the back door for all of those bills, but I'm gonna keep pushing them
Yes, sir.
and keep talking about them, because I'm a big believer that everybody can't get the standard testing as you all are talking about
Yes.
education.
And this is
Yes, sir. Okay. All right. Look, our time has run up. Handy man kicking us out the studio. So
y'all
Handy.
need to know y'all time. 67, 1 hour.
So we appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all next Thursday. It was a great show. We love y'all, and we're gonna let Ms. Bowman sign us off tonight.
You all be safe, be blessed, and have a great evening. Thank you.
All right, take us away, Handy. All right, thank y'all so much for streaming us, for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week, same place, same time.